that we go up, we need a foot of ramp run. So I'm up about 3.5 feet, about 42 inches, let's say. So we would, to get up to this height, we would need a 42-foot long ramp. And that's only at 3.5 feet. Most of the South Shore homes, we see 1, 2, maybe a third step, and then a little step to get in, maybe 30 inches, and that's a typical starting point. Now add 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 feet of elevation. You can see very quickly that ramping is really not a viable means of getting in. We have to take also into consideration that there is the type of wheelchair that might be used. Is the person self-propelling? I can tell you from experience, once you get to about 30 feet of ramp run, giving somebody a push of average weight, it's exhausting. And if you're self-propelling, really you're looking at 1 to 20 type distances. So these ramps get very fast, very quick. And anything less than that, you know, ramps like this here, that kind of pitch is good for jumping flaming cars, but that's about it, right? So we're going to be looking then really at a lift here on the left, will be to your right, vertical platform lift. And there's a little bit of confusion sometimes. Folks will combine lift and elevators. So I just want to take a quick point and just make that distinction and be clear about it. So if there's a mechanical lifting device at the property, it will fall into categories. A vertical platform lift, which this here is depicting, sort of an open air unit, works on a screw drive. In this instance, obviously, it's located outside. There's a button that needs to be pushed in with continual contact. That is your entry-level product. Again, like Mike said earlier, the program is going to pay for a vanilla situation, a vanilla piece of equipment. This would be considered a vanilla piece of equipment. Your residential elevators are going to be what you would sort of think of an enclosed unit with a cab, with a telephone on the inside. It might be 1, 2, or 3 stops with buttons. You push, you let go, and it takes you to the stop that you've chosen. That is a upgrade. That would be considered an owner upgrade to be able to climb these heights. So then how does that impact dollars and cents? So once this goes through review and your letter has been reviewed and it's gone through the process and they've approved it, it will be based upon the height that we have to climb. So the program is going to pay $3,500 per foot of vertical rise and will max out at $22,000. So it's like this. On closeout, if there's an accessibility feature, the program is looking for that feature. And we look at this very much the same way as we look at other things in the program. If the program is going to fund Formica countertops and you opt to put in granite countertops, the delta in cost is considered an owner upgrade, and the program will assume that that is something that you paid out of pocket to go from the vanilla to the upgrade. Same way here, as long as you have a countertop, the program is, you satisfy the minimum requirements. In this instance here, as long as there is an accessibility feature that's been outlined on the plans, approved, they want to see it, if you choose to put a residential elevator in, it's your prerogative. Does that make sense? Is that clear? We have the difference between a lift, we have a vertical platform lift, we have a residential elevator. So we want to take this into, it's a lot of, we like to deal in practicality. So we took a case study here, a common split in Long Beach, and how do we figure out where are we going to put this unit? What are some other things that when we talk about accessibility, what are the things that maybe are not quite thought about beyond just the entrance into the threshold? So, if possible, if possible, if you can house that lift, that accessibility feature inside the house, that's ideal. In this instance here, there was a little side piece of property on the structure, a little structure off to the side. And over here where the red box is, the lift fit perfectly inside. So the homeowner came into the garage, walked under the structure, covered in. So if we can find a way to protect that, it's ideal. But I want to point out this bathroom. This second red rectangle. You see, you understand what I'm talking about here. In this instance here, many times, and most times in my own practice, if there's an issue getting up these stairs, there's probably, almost universally, a problem inside the house. There's an accessibility challenge inside the house. Doors may not be wide enough. The bathroom is usually a problem. And these bathrooms, for folks with special needs, they get a lot of heavy use, and it has to be done right. And so if the property, especially, and in this instance here, in this example, it's on the part of the house is on a slab foundation. That slab, when it's disconnected, this is the time to make these adjustments because the floor package is being pulled away. And it's much, much easier to move plumbing, to shift fixtures if we need to widen doors. You're already going to have on a slab the doors to be rehung. That's already a part of the process. And so to rehang a little bit of a wider door is not that big of a deal. So let's just take a second here and just focus in on this bathroom and some things. So in this particular instance, it started where you walk into the door and there's a very narrow shower immediately to your right, a sink, a toilet to the exterior wall. We're always looking for floor space. We're always trying to find the space if someone requires a fair amount of help to stand, and there's equipment needs, and there's caregiving needs, and maybe there's some type of need that is progressive, neurologically progressive in nature. Right? It always boils down to, and we want to look at the facts and what are our clients dealing with from a functional and physical standpoint. What do the caregivers need to do? And do our best to project this long term. Time to fix this is now. This is a unique opportunity. So in this instance here, we go from a stacked on the right, shift things to stack on the left, but we take the fixtures, move them around a bit, and we give a minimum of a 5 foot wide by 3 foot deep shower base. Now it's still on the little bit of the tight side, but that's a heck of a lot better than that phone booth over here on the left. The door can get widened. There's a little bit more turning radius, a little more space, and again, because that's on a slab, the time to make those changes happens now. The time to get it right is before the work begins, and so there's a couple points here. A lot of folks will go back and say the ADA is the way to go. But the reality of it is the ADA is the code on the books that govern accessibility in commercial spaces only. It's next to impossible to retrofit the standard post-war residential property on Long Island utilizing ADA as the hard and fast rule. We use it as a guide and we do our best to get there, but ultimately it boils down to it's you, it's your function, it's the equipment, it's the caregiver, and how do we get your needs met as close to perfect as possible. And so again, it goes back to utilizing an evidence-based design model. It's looking at what are the things that you specifically are dealing with. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It's specific to you and your personal needs. And so it's very easy to make changes on paper. It is not easy to do that when the framing is up and the tiles are being set and the mud is poured and the product is put down, and to find out later that there's a problem, that's a problem. So you have to get this right up front. And it's really going to be your responsibility. The average, we're a bit of an enigma. My early profession was at the bedside as a treating physical therapist. And so at PK, we benefit from that experience. And when we have a client that comes through the door that has a medical situation, we're on that. And we see things that maybe another design professional may not. So it's going to be your responsibility, if there's a special need in this, is to make sure that your design professional truly 100% understands the things that you are faced with. You can't leave it to assumption. So spell it out. And you know, again, we have to get this right. So what is your equipment? What does the caregiver need to do? Are we projecting for reduced function later on down the road? It's easier to make the changes on paper. And so here's a client that came to us after exhausting options with their current design professional, and they brought us a set of documents that just needed some changes, and that's what those red arrows represent.